Many thanks, and Vasile, very nice that you introduced myself. Great, and it's a pleasure for me to be today here on the panel. You know, the Data Space Business Alliance. I see your other slide, but it's not important. The Data Space Business Alliance, you know, we founded this roughly 1 year ago. It was in September, I think, when I looked to Max. And I see also Dario here in the background who makes a signature. The 4 associations together. And what we are achieving or want to do is really to work together. I'm saying always, let's keep away the discussions, just work, just produce impact, just produce results, putting our brains together, putting our forces together. You have heard also from Olivier, joining forces, and I think this was, let's say, the motto of the Data Space Business Alliance. And what this is, what is behind this, I'm more than happy to discuss this with the 4 CEOs, like you said. So I want to invite first Anna first. Anna Garcia, you know, from Big Data Value Association. She's working with me, so I'm the president. I get very good support from her. And a big applause to Anna. Thanks a lot. The next one is, I think there's a person called Francesco. I'm not sure if anybody knowing here in the room Francesco. So Francesco, please come on stage. Oh, he's running in the back. You have a coffee for me with him. That's great. Thanks a lot, Francesco. That's real support that you're providing.
Yeah, he needs his morning coffee. Yeah, we all need. He's Italian, so he needs 5.
Okay, so Francesco, a big applause for Francesco. I think well known. I have not to introduce him before. Take your seat, be relaxed. Say hello to Anna. You see, it's cooperation, joint forces, looking what we can do. Lars, I see you. You are the next one from IDSA. Come on stage. And last but not least, Ulrich from Fiverr Association. Great, and also for him a big applause. So you see here, let's say, and that's important for us, and you see here also the mood, how the people are coming on stage. Welcome each other, so we're working together. I think that is a main topic what we want to achieve. And Olivier Sichel mentioned this before, you know, he's the president of this think tank, about, and I have here also a little bit, Digital New Deal. The think tank also produced, I think some weeks ago, we have to look to Hubert, a nice paper covering, you know, the different layers from the cloud. I would add edge infrastructure regarding sovereignty aspects, the data space aspects, and the AI, trustworthy AI aspects. Also meaning, let's say, the 3 layers, and to be honest, we have somehow to bring it as an end-to-end solution, following our digital commons, our thoughts, our trustworthiness, our values, like he mentioned before in the video together. And exactly this is why we are here together with the 4 colleagues here, which I introduced person per person. And now I want to start, let's say, a little bit the panel discussion. And the panel discussion I will structure in 3 pillars. First of all, general. You know, there's DSBA, there's a project DSSC, there's in Gaia-X a DSBC. Don't ask me what abbreviation we have else, but I'm very sure we can explain this very well. That is the first round, let's say, really general, providing you, let's say, some kind of baselining what is behind this. The second round is, you see here 4 persons, but I know there are a lot of other organizations also in the background. Standardization was mentioned by Olivier, for example. So we have also some kind of other associations where we're working close by. The second round will be, let's say, about what is the contribution? What is the contribution from Gaia-X, from BDVA, from Fiverr, from IDSA to this Data Space Business Alliance? And last but not least, reflecting some of the thoughts about from Olivier, and of course giving a brief preview what is next, what we want to do with DSBA. So now I can sit down and hand over the first question to Francesco. Sorry, Anna. Francesco, give us. Francesco, give us a first view about DSBA. What is behind it? What is the impact, what we want to achieve? The partners, or the main partners I have introduced up 1 year, producing first results. What are your thoughts, and what I think, or what do you think it's a main goal, it's a main target what we have to achieve?
Yeah. First of all, apologies, I was taking a few minutes to step up stage, but this is because it's almost impossible to get out of the coffee room because of so many people want to talk about so many things. So thank you very much for being here. And yesterday I made my initial speech, talking about the State of the Union. And I said, well, if you want to know what the union I'm talking about is, I think Gaia-X is becoming a union for a European Union for data economy. I quite like this thing because I believe DSBA was possibly one of the first seeds in showing this trend. Yesterday we signed also partnership with iShare and Crossroads, and I believe this is the beginning of it. So basically what we decided 1 year ago, actually it was October 21, we looked into each other's eyes and said, look guys, all of our associations, we are talking about data spaces. Fair enough. And we are doing slightly different things, different nuances of the same thing. So IDSA has been leading in the definition of processes, ontologies, data schemas, and basically defining what a data space is. BDVA is very much focused on, let me say, on the research and innovation aspects, but if you think about it, it's the basis to any usage of the data, because what we're talking about is artificial intelligence, and without ontologies, data models, etc., there's no way to make use of those data spaces. Fiverr has built one of the most utilized frameworks, and not just about smart cities, although smart cities is one of the most successful, let me say, domain, but as a matter of fact, it's a set of reusable components, and Gaia-X is building the head of trust around all these things. So we said, first of all, let's not try to or to preach on different gospels. Let's sing from the same hymn. Second, let's try to join the forces to build three things. A common message around data spaces, what they are, how to make them, and possibly, best practices, lesson learned, blueprints, call it whatever you want. Second, let's try to build a convergent architecture that combines all the assets and experience across the associations in order to not to reinvent the wheel and capitalize at the maximum what we already have done. And last but not least, let's group together our networks. You can imagine we have a network of 20 hubs today in Gaia-X, and I can't remember by heart the numbers of my colleagues here, but all in all we have hundreds of hubs with thousands of people all around the globe. It's a unique opportunity to build those antennas, and you can have a multiplier effect on the potential projects that we can build together. And this project will be all based on the, let me say, convergent principles of the four association. And like you said, Thomas, this is the beginning of it, and we are open to extensions. So I don't know if that helps, but to me, it's a great achievement so far.
Yes, I can confirm this, and we all, with others, are somehow the mothers and fathers of this cooperation. Sorry for this. And I think, yes, it's important. And I think for me, really it's important what I said. We put our heads together, joining forces. Don't ask me what the future will be, but really to achieve impact. You set up the dimension from the DSBA, what we want to target now. I think we will find also other opportunities and challenges which we have to achieve together. And as said before, this is a Data Space Business Alliance. You see it here with a network in the background. Thanks that you're mentioning also the hubs, the iSpaces, or however it's named in the different association. But these are points where, let's say, our customers get help, different type of help, technology, also when some kind of cooperation, building up an ecosystem where they get some help. And when you're now thinking about the Data Space Business Alliance, Anna, we have spoken about hubs. This was existing. We have spoken about association. Where's the first results? I mentioned also before the next abbreviation, DSSC. Maybe you touch a little bit about what is ongoing with the European data spaces. What is the DSSC? What do we want to inside the DSSC? What the abbreviation is standing for? So I hand over to you.
Thank you very much, Thomas. And also, as this is my first intervention, I want to thank you. Thank also Francesco, Vasilia, because for me it's a great pleasure to be here in the Gaia-X Summit, and I'm very honored that I can be here on the stage. So now, to talk about the DSCC, and this is one of the outcomes of the collaboration. There are many, and we will talk about more of them, but DSCC is a very important element, Data Spaces Support Center. What it is, to be very clear, is a project. But it's a very important project, very relevant for the success of the deployment of the data spaces. There is a priority on those data spaces that are at the moment under the umbrella of the Data Spaces Digital Europe program. However, I believe the Data Spaces Support Center is critical to create this connection between the policy and the real market. And I think the project needs to make a strong connection in between the data spaces that are actually part of this Digital Europe program and all the commercial market-oriented data spaces. It's mandated by the European Commission. It's a 42 months project. We started 1 month ago, and it feels like it has been like three years of intensity. It's very intense. And also, it has been labeled by the European Commission as the operational arm of the upcoming European Data Innovation Board. I will say who is behind, because this is a great outcome of our collaboration. So we are at the core, our communities are at the core of the Data Spaces Support Center, and we joined forces, for instance, with My Data, another key data community. The project is led by Frank Hofer, in particular by Professor Boris Otto and his team, and then we have key expert organizations, BTT, Citra, TNO, Capgemini, Q11, Insight, and we are also surrounded by a network of associated partners that really bring a lot of knowledge in many different areas, verticals, but also cross-sectorial aspects. And just to mention some, because the list is big, but some of the ones that are here, EGI, ITI, Agatec, New Governance, iShare, Innovalia, Gate, and honestly, the list is long, so I prefer to stop, but please check on our website. I will say in very quickly what we are doing and where we plan to achieve. So the first thing, we pull together expertise, assets, and knowledge, and we deliver that to the community, okay? That's the first thing. So that's the support. It's a data support center, so we deliver support based on the existing knowledge and the knowledge that will be generated. Second point, we produce guidelines and recommendations for interoperable data spaces. So we work at this cross-sectorial level, and we need to make sure that there is interoperability, that we don't create silos in between the data spaces. And finally, we are really building a very strong network of stakeholders, not only with the data spaces initiatives, but also other initiatives that are relevant for data spaces, for instance, AI initiatives, cloud, innovation hubs, EOS, research projects, etc., etc., etc. And just 5 words, keywords to close my intervention. So already said support, engagement, but very important, identification of what is out there. Also the creation of the blueprint, really creating these releases for the blueprint of data spaces. And the final part that is very important, delivering and making sure that there are solutions out there that can be tested solutions, proven solutions that can be used.
Many thanks, Anna, describing the DSSC, the Data Space Support Center. Here you see the engine who driving this forward, the ecosystem, the people, the community behind us. The DSSC was a call to take vertical. I think also Olivier mentioned some kind of the initiatives on the European level where we have, let's say, the access point via the DSSC project, horizontal. And maybe to hand over to Lars, you know, horizontal is fine, but at the end, coming from industry, you have some kind of applications in different verticals, in different domains. How this is interlinked to DSSC with the verticals, and for sure a snapshot about what is ongoing also in the verticals. Maybe you highlight also the first brokering event we have done last year in December, where we invited for the different verticals, the community really to apply, to get a community to apply for the vertical calls. But Lars, it's you.
Yeah, well, the main ambition that we have with the Data Spaces Support Center is to really make this big thing of data spaces happen, and therefore, well, we must do a lot of splits, so to say. On the one hand side, we need to make sure that we do not end up in silos once again. This is important. So therefore, we need this horizontal layer. And the horizontal layer is what we should see, well, as the GSM for telecommunication. So it must be there, it must be easy to use, and at the end it will be invisible. So we do something interesting here. We do and build something which is really complex and complicated, a stack of architectures to make data spaces happen, but at the end, for the consumer, for the user, it shall be invisible. So therefore, let's do something great, and then no one shall witness it, right? So this is also complicated for motivation, but this is exactly what we do with the Data Spaces Support Center. We need to build the roads for data. And, well, what is the nice thing with roads? You can reach everything, right? So, and then, well, you need to do something on these roads, and that is where the verticals come into the play. Well, we have all the verticals, so the media data space, the mobility data space, manufacturing, cultural heritage, energy, we name all of this, and we need to make sure that they all rely on a common framework that has been mentioned before. We must make sure that we have a certain common denominator so that at the end we really can maintain and guarantee interoperability and, well, the free flow of data. We are all talking about level playing field for data. Well, this is exactly what we need to build here. And then there will be specifications, some specialities per data space, and this shall be left to the domains because the value creation takes place in each of these domains. And therefore, we need to be in a very close interaction with the data spaces. So what are the requirements? What are the functional requests that we need to include in the data spaces blueprint? So, well, the sketch for the roads for data that we will deliver so that we can make sure that, well, a company, an organization, a citizen can share data with all of these communities. This is the great thing at the end and the beauty with data spaces. Data spaces, they are not silos, although they are standing here like silos, but the cool thing is they are interoperable, they are nested, they are overlapping, they are combined. Today, a company can be part of that data space, tomorrow part of another one, and at the same time, always part of a third one. And this is very agile, and that is what we need to make sure with a very flexible, agile, powerful infrastructure. The DSSC is the support center, as Anna mentioned, to build this blueprint on behalf of Europe, so to say. And we, with DSBA, we set up the initial core stack of the architectures of our organizations, as Francesco mentioned, the common framework for data spaces. And, well, we are here to help. It's a Data Spaces Support Center. Let's build these great data spaces, and I'm so happy that I'm here and invited and that we can spread the good news.
Many thanks, Lars. Maybe, Ulrich, you maybe a brief snapshot in one of the verticals and how this interact with the DSSC, DSBA, with us. I wanted to give a feeling about what is behind this. Lars.
Yeah.
Ulrich, sorry.
First of all, also a very good morning from my side, and thank you for being here. There are at least a dozen of different verticals which are within the or supported by the Data Spaces Support Center, using the technology we are defining in the technology coherence in our common reference architecture driven by the Data Spaces Business Alliance, where we are joining our forces, where we are bringing our strength of each community together, but where we are also integrating existing technologies which fit into the overall frame architecture we are defining, because it's not our intention to reinvent the wheel, but to use and to select the right technologies to fill this reference architecture. And to talk about one of the verticals, I'm just coming from Barcelona, so I arrived yesterday night. We had 3 days the world-leading event on smart cities. It's called the Smart City Expo World Congress in Barcelona, and I'm still flashed, to be honest. It is back on the level before Corona when it comes to the amount of visitors, but it has dramatically changed when it comes to the content. 3 years ago, we've been talking about test beds and pilots, and it's impressive to see how many cities, in that case, are relying now on data, to increase the quality of life of citizens living in the cities. And by the way, not only cities, but also rural areas. And on the other hand, using data to reduce the cost of operating cities, to make them more sustainable. And here, data spaces play an important role to get access to all data describing what's happening within a city. But on the other side, we also need to see the data spaces as such do not really create value for a citizen living in the city. The value are created by applications on top of the data spaces, using artificial intelligence, using big data analytics, using the data provided by a data space, and the data spaces are the prerequisite for digital solutions in these cities. And it is impressive, really impressive, at least for me it was impressive, to see how many real-world applications are out there. And what's impressive, and here we are coming back to our mission as Data Spaces Business Alliance, that this interoperability of different domains in the smart city or smart energy sector, we are talking about sector coupling. This interoperability is of utmost importance. Because imagine there is a smart city data space, a smart energy data space, a smart mobility data space, and all of them are in preparation, with the guidance and support of the Data Spaces Support Center. Imagine they are not able to talk to each other. And therefore, it is important to have standard APIs, standard data models, standard functionalities to create data sovereignty, to provide trust, because without trust it will not work, and also to provide mechanisms for the monetization of data. Because, and that's can also be seen, a lot of these data spaces and initiatives at the moment are driven by public funding on the member state level, on the base of the European Commission, but we are creating here platforms, data spaces, which shall last, maybe not forever, but for a long, long time. At least we are talking about a decade. And these data spaces need to remain once the public funding is over. And therefore we need sustainable business models. And also this is something where the Data Spaces Support Center will provide support not only to deploy data spaces, but also to sustainably operate data spaces. And again, I would like to say thank you to my 3 colleagues, my 3 friends in the meantime, I think, and joining forces is based on different technologies we are bringing in, different mindsets, different strategies, but it's based on people who are able to work to each other. And I think we found a mode really to do so.
Many thanks, Ulrich, and also especially you're saying friends, because as you have seen, cooperation is key, open cooperation is key. But maybe let's dig into the second round and only 2 bridges. And you see here, beside my task inside the organization, I'm also coming from a company, and let's phrase 2, let's say, burning topics which we have at the moment. There are a lot more, but 2. You know, when you're speaking about CO2 footprint, and when you're looking at the factory, you see maybe 10, 20, 30%, depending what you are producing on the shop floor. What is this CO2? Yeah, not production is maybe the wrong word, but the emission of CO2. Also meaning the rest, 80, 90, 70% as outside. So meaning to get a complete overview about CO2 footprint for sustainability reasons, to optimize this, you have to have an exchange. You have to have an exchange along the different players to get the values, the parts, what is produced, what is needed, what are the CO2 footprint. So meaning data exchange is from essence across this. Other example, when you're speaking about battery factory, and everybody from us knowing battery factory is highly dependent on materials, which maybe we have not enough here in our region. But you can recover or recycle 94% of a battery. Also meaning when you have, again, here's a complete chain, a complete data exchange, the value to produce this, to make it more efficient, this is really from key essence. And you are right, there are two topics for the data, to make it more efficient, to make the production more efficient, but the key topic is also regarding what are new business models based on this, where we are also targeting, you know, in the data space business committee, but I will hand over then the question to Francesco about what are new business opportunities, what are new business models. But maybe let's start the next round. Again, I start with you because you have the mic in your hand. That's okay. And I just hand it over also to you. What is the contribution from the Gaia-X? What is the contribution to the DSBA? For the friends here, what is Gaia-X bringing onto the table for this cooperation?
Well, first of all, I want to pick up on what you just said about you know, the challenges that are still there in the industry to be solved. And what I said before, and what we said before, other people on stage mentioned about this topic. There is not yet a level of maturity sufficient to understand what data spaces are and how they can not just improve the business, but save the businesses. So before making, you made a very simple example, a very concrete example on the shop floor. Let me get back to that. But the way I explain to my sons what a data space is very simple. You know, think about when you go on vacation and you organize your own vacation, renting a house, renting a car, deciding the landing, so you're going to visit here and there, you go to the swimming pool, and then you have to book restaurants. It's, you know, it can be fun at times, can be a real job, sometimes can be challenging and difficult. A data space is an all-inclusive club where you have everything you need in one-stop place. And I think all of you understand the difference of that. So making that example in the shop floor, we have seen from industry, let me say 0 to industry 4.0, which used to be, let me say, the next thing. Actually, Industry 4.0 translated to be basically just adopting some, you know, digital controlled machinery. Someone had some integration with ERPs like SAP. None of the machines talked to each other. There was no integration on the shop floor. All the data were, at a certain point, need to be stored somewhere, and then the question came, well, where do we put the data? Well, do we really trust to put our data on here or there? I don't make the names. No, we have a problem. So maybe we need something. This is the something we're doing at Gaia-X, which again is not, it's nothing exclusive, restrictive, nothing at all. It's a hat to build trust and interoperability around different disjoint, disaggregated, non-integrated platforms, technology, infrastructure, and data. So what can Gaia-X do, or actually how Gaia-X contributes to this big picture of data spaces? First of all, like I said before, let's describe what a data space is. Yesterday, we provided you the vision of Gaia-X, why we need that. I think that was pretty clear. And also we explained to you the Gaia-X framework from a technical perspective. Now, forget about the solution is using the Gaia-X framework to become digital. No way. It's like I hire a new digital officer and then I become digital. Moving to this world means changing the organizations, changing the business models. There's new economical model, there's new organizational, operational model, possibly new management structures. We can enable that, but as you will see today, just after us, much more interesting in this discussion, you will have 8 real projects talking about their experience. They are here to share their experience. They are here to tell you what the challenge they faced, which is similar to the example I made of the all-inclusive club. And they build their all-inclusive club in their specific business. We can help, as Gaia-X, enabling these projects. We are creating communities. We have working groups on each verticals. Each of these working groups is elaborating use cases. Some of these use cases go into a pipeline and become business cases. Some of these business cases go into a pipeline and find some members that want to create a real project, and they become projects. And those projects adopt Gaia-X standard in the market, and as we are working together, they will adopt more and more the convergent, let me say, DSBA standards, and this will create what I call a snowball effect. There's no other way to convince the world that we're doing a good thing than adopting it. And that's what we can possibly do from our side in Gaia-X.
Perfect. So select the next person with the mic, not Anna. Select Ulrich. What can fiberware offer to your friends here? Let's phrase it, and you use the word friend.
As we have developed together the reference architecture and defined the structure of the building blocks to fill this reference architecture. There are in total 12 of these building blocks, and our contribution is mainly in the area of building blocks to enable the interoperability. So standard APIs, standard data models, that's where we have a proven experience where these standards are adapted on the market. And coming back to the example of smart cities, we brought up an API which enables this interoperability called NGSI, Next Generation Service Interface, which was standardized in the meantime after it became a de facto standard in the domain of smart cities. It was standardized by ETSI 3 years ago. Last year it was standardized by the Bureau of Indian Standards. So it's a standard for data management in smart cities in India. And again, I said I'm still flashed from the last 3 days to talk to so many countries, ministries, South Korea, Japan, Colombia, where it is adopted on the state level. So all cities and countries which are relying on data to further push their digitization in their countries, in their cities. And this is something we are bringing in, so it's market proven, it's market adopted, and I think this is providing some value to the Data Spaces Business Alliance. Perfect. And also to the support center.
Perfect. You have a moderator also to look sometimes on the watch. Lars, 3 minutes, what IDSA is providing to us all, to the friends, but more important to us all here outside or here in the business or society.
Yeah. To the world, right? So International Data Spaces Association. Well, we are on the road for a long time. We have been trailblazing or pioneering for data spaces since, well, over 8 years now. I would probably say we've even coined the term data spaces. And, well, on our way, we've seen that, well, we cannot do this alone. What do we do? Well, we started more from a technical perspective. So how do you really exchange data? How do we define this whole data layer when we talk about data spaces? So at the end, well, what is a data space from a technical perspective? It's the sum of all data endpoints. Because, well, why do we do this thing, data spaces? Well, we need the largest pool of data that we can imagine so that we really can benefit from all the great smart services that well, erect on this data pool and, well, all the artificial intelligence algorithms that you can do then. So this is the value. But it all relies on, you need to have data, and you need to bring all of these data sets together somehow, or you have to bring the algorithms to the data. Well, how does that work? The data space is a sum of all of these data endpoints, and we defined with our reference architecture how this works in a very essential, basic manner. So we set the global standard for what we call an IDS connector, and we certify, and therefore we bring in trust in such an ecosystem that you can rely on the software component, the gateway to such a data space. And then, well, we talk about data economy. Data economy is about sharing data, exchanging data, it's about monetization, we learned about it. Well, then you need to attach, for example, contracts to a data set. You need to attach usage policies to it, and you need to enforce all of this. And that is what we have set up. And just one example to conclude, I was saying the last years, where do we deploy such a connector? I don't care. So this was my answer in the past. Today I have an answer, yeah, we have Gaia-X underneath. We have this nice federated infrastructure, and, well, we have the services, the AI. Well, this is all sitting here on stage. So therefore, we need all of this, and therefore, I'm so happy to be part of DSBA.
Perfect. Many thanks, Lars. Now we have data, we can data share, we have data spaces, now we have to create value out of data. And Anna, maybe you're saying what BDBA is providing to your friends.
Thank you, Thomas. So I will start with something that we all have in common, and it's our communities and our experts. So that's one great value that we all bring, that we bring you all to collaborate together. And from our side, I think that community is a community mix of industry and research. And this community have been working for many years already in developing pilots covering the whole value chain. And there is a lot of expertise. So I would say it's a community of experts as number one in many of the topics that we are discussing here. Number two, and because Francesco mentioned research and innovation, we bring this topic of the data spaces of the future as well. So we are implementing the data spaces of today. We contribute to the data spaces of the future. A very concrete example, we are today releasing a paper called Hot Topics on Data Protection. Very interesting paper, very short. I recommend you to read. That really brings onto the table, this is where we are today. This is the technical and non-technical challenges. These are the promising technologies. And this is our recommendations actually for the data spaces as well. So this is the kind of concrete outcomes that we can provide. Then a key topic, industrial AI, the usage of AI by our industries, by our businesses. So our community has been working already for years in the whole, let's say, big data stack, so to speak, or data stack. But there has been more and more a focus on the value part, as you said, but value, if we, for instance, from the technical perspective, we look at the layers, everything that has to be with analytics, with data-driven AI, with machine learning, with deep learning, all these MLOps, etc., etc. And I think since the high-level expert group on AI was launched, and the whole aspect of ethical AI was launched, the group of what we call trustworthiness of industrial AI in BDBA has been growing, growing, and growing. And for us, it's a big, let's say, big focus at the moment to make sure that we have seamless integration, a common framework between data spaces and trustworthy AI. And that's something where we really want to contribute a lot in the Data Spaces Business Alliance. Last but not least, and I close, important because this is also a common contribution, our hubs. And so we are bringing together also the 4 associations, what we call our hubs. And from our side, we have a community of what we call iSpaces, and we have some of them on the audience and also the leader of the community. So this is really innovation hubs, but they have data infrastructure, data sources, AI technologies, and they are really offering services, very, very expert services to the communities and particular SMEs. They are being federated using technologies here present on the IDSA, adopting the framework of Gaia, many of them using Fiverr. And this will be key to bring SMEs and to scale players into data spaces.
Okay, many thanks. And now, I know this is challenging with these people who are speaking very extensive and very enthusiastic about the topic. Lars, you have the mic. Last round, what should we not do? One word. You see, it was a surprise. I've not...
Silos.
What button?
Silos.
Okay. Ulrich.
We shouldn't have inside fights.
Anna.
Come on, the silos part. I think what we shouldn't do is not to cooperate. So we need a strong cooperation, nothing about working individually.
We should not be self-referential. We must look outside.
Perfect. So when you take the impression, here are, let's say, friends which want to do something together, which want to do something together, covering, you know, from the data infrastructure, cloud edge, data spaces, data value, AI part. When you take this with you, I think then we achieved what we want. We have a big obligation, I have to tell you, like that, the topics, and I'm also happy, and now also highlighting this report from Olivier's think tank regarding this, and they have also a very nice picture inside, and which I use very often in a different style, but showing the same topic, where you're really showing here some kind of the different layers, data infrastructure, cloud edge, data spaces, AI, and you see also the verticals and also the cross topic, that's the boxes you see here. I really recommend to read this and to look at it, and I say many thanks. We have a lot ahead of us to do and a big obligation. Many thanks.